MMA scraps is why most shows tap out then cry. We the ones like 'em now at the end of the bout with our hands to the.
Now, of course, teaser at the end of the show, they have some special assistant coaches, which is one thing that actually had not leaked really on the internet, at least not to a broad base as far as you coaching. There has been a picture leaked of who the assistant coaches are. I'm not going to reveal that for the people who don't want spoilers. But can you tell us, did you have any hand in, picking these assistant coaches?
No. That they told I got to be careful about the way that I answer this, because there was a reason why they chose the assistant coaches that they chose, and they chose them for a reason, and I didn't know until I got there. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know that I was going to have assistant coaches or anything like that. Again, you have to realize that when I was coming, I didn't know if Tito and his coaching crew was going to be there to finish coaching and just kind of have me step in to help promote the fight, or what the situation was going to be when I got there.
Sure. As far as getting along with assistant coaches that you've really never coached with before, how was that process? Was that something that worked out okay, or you were only there for a short amount of time, so it's kind of weird to get a group of guys together that I'm assuming when you got there you weren't even sure how many were actually fighting. Is that correct?
Yeah, I didn't know. When I got there, I didn't know how many guys were left on the team that I would be coaching. I really didn't know any of that kind of stuff. It was I was going out there completely blind. But I'm the kind of person that I pretty much get along with everybody, and I will say that they're just in this business. I don't really have a whole lot of enemies. There aren't very many people that I couldn't work with for at least a week, especially for the sake of the fighter who was preparing for his fight. When I come out there, I was my primary concern was getting the fighters ready that need to get ready. So it really didn't matter who my assistant coaches were, even if Tito was there and he wanted me to help out coaching or something like that. I would be fine with working with him. Not that I have anything. There's nothing there anyway. But the point is that it wouldn't matter who my assistant coaches were. And fortunately, the guys that we were working with and everything, and who we had to prep for the fights, the assistant coaches that they ended up hiring for this were just perfect. They couldn't have chosen better coaches.
Yeah. Now, do you think that the team accepted you readily? They got really close, as you can see on the show. They got really close to Tito before he left. Do you think that they, as much as they could, kind of accepted you as their new coach?
Yeah, I think so. Given the situation, you have to think about it from their point of view. Their coach was just basically stripped from them, and I'm coming in blindly, so it's not like I had a hand in making Tito leave or anything like that. What was done, and so you kind of have to make the most of it. It'll be interesting to see how things play out, what the guys say in their interviews over the next couple of weeks. But going into the situation, I didn't realize the kind of division there was amongst the fighters on Tito's team. I didn't realize that the guys weren't getting along. Some guys, obviously, you can tell now, some guys are left in the competition and some guys are not. Well, as a matter of fact, they did the matchups last night. So the only fighter I have at this point in time to prep, it was Chris. And you've seen some of the antics that had gone on with Yeager and the whole situation with the Minority Report that they had going on in the house. I didn't know about any of that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I know that when Chris was getting ready for his fight, some of the guys were more willing to help out than others. And of course, you've seen the season. We've been plagued with injuries and surgeries and all that kind of stuff. So you just being there for the last week of training, basically, my goal was to get Chris ready for that fight.
Sure. Now, after having seen a lot of what has happened so far this season, does it answer questions about does it fill in a lot of the holes that you had when you got there? Do you understand certain people's personalities better because of watching the show?
No, not really, because I'll be quite honest. All this stuff is going on with Yeager. A lot of guys not getting along with him, but when Chris was getting ready while I was out there, Yeager was one of the main guys that was helping Chris get ready for the fight. And, you know, of course, there's a lot of film footage, and they can pretty much paint any kind of picture that they want as far as each episode goes from you know, episode to episode. But it looked to me as if Chris didn't have a whole lot of strife with any of the other fighters in the team. So when I was out there, there was part of me that wondered why certain guys, you know, weren't helping out as much as they could have. And now looking at the episodes, I'm not really sure. Of course, you know, some of the guys on Tito's team had injuries and whatnot, but you know, everybody that was healthy, I spent the bulk of my time with Chris, and of course my assistant coaches spent some time with him as well. And when they were working specific drills with him, I made sure that I got around and worked with some of the other guys, because I wanted to make sure that they got the full experience while they were on the show, and be able to work with their coaches and pick up any new tips and tricks and things that they could actually take home with them.
Well, off with the Ultimate Fighter and on to UFC 115, a very exciting event, you against Chuck Liddell. When this fight was offered to you, what did you think about it? I mean, Chuck at one point had thought to be put in forced retirement, never really accepted it himself, and now you get a shot at one of the legends at 205. A lot of people refer to 195, where you have been fighting as the Franklin weight, but now you're finally at 205. What does this fight mean to you?
I mean, this is a fight against Chuck. It's of course, Chuck was the title holder. His legendary status at 205. You can't, as far as fighting goes, you just can't say enough positive things about Chuck. And people talked about his retirement, but I know this much when I saw him on the show. He's motivated to fight. He was fighting Tito, and that I'm assuming that just lit a fire, because he was in the best shape that I think I've ever seen Chuck in his entire career. So this fight, we may very well see the best Chuck Liddell that you've ever seen. And with that being said, I don't think that, you know, if Chuck's not mentally ready for retirement, I think just based on how he looked and everything, he may very well physically not be ready for retirement either. And I expect this to be a tough fight.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any doubt about that. He definitely was motivated after Tito said a couple things on the show to be ready for the fight. You're training for this. I know that this is kind of one of the different type of fighters you've ever had to fight. Chuck a lot of times is a counter fighter, which isn't necessarily you know, the style of fighter that you fought. Can you talk to us about how your training has differed this time around, rather than your normal kind of you know, Cincinnati, Seattle kind of you know, training camp?
Well, this time I spent the bulk. I basically spent my entire camp in Cincinnati. I did go to Seattle for a week prior to my 8-week camp starting, but I started my training here, and I got into a good groove. The weather is nice here. I had a good set of training partners that were showing up at the gym, and I really liked what I was seeing here back at home. And it gets to the point where you're just constantly on the road. And you know, I wanted to be home. I had a good groove going with my coaching staff and with my training partners, and I thought, why switch? Why change something that's not broken? So Matt Hume, he'll be in my corner along with Rob Radford and Neil Rowe, and we've been back and forth on the telephone talking about things, done some film scouting together and all that kind of stuff, but and talked game plan and everything, and you know, but for the most part, I stayed here in Cincinnati for this one.
Full of anger and rage. Welcome to the show.